Coming to you live from the confines of your mind, it's the Socially Awkwards podcast. I am Matt and Rouge, and he is Bran Antonio, and we are both just figments of your imagination. Welcome to the pod. Today we are talking about podulation. Nope, just kidding. Population. And before you go, oh, that sounds boring. We're going to dive deep into population statistics. We're not only going to discuss the general population statistics, but we're going to go delve into some demography or demographics. And we are not just going to talk about people population. We're going to discuss the population of animals as well. And not only that, and maybe my favorite part of the episode, we're going to talk about the populations of fictional places. So this should be a fun episode, Bran Antonio. Tell me your thoughts on population and demographic statistics. You got any hot takes for us?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I have any hot takes. Population is it is interesting because I think that like just the way you laid everything out, animals, fictional places, there's a lot of different ways you can think about it. There is also like this hot button. I see a lot of people arguing past each other when they're talking about population based statistics, when some people are trying to use per capita to make a statement. And then some people are trying to use like absolute terms, like in terms of like total population. This comes a lot in interplay with like politics and things like that, and the way that you want to use population to get your point across. So,
Right.
so I don't know if it's a hot take, but I think it's really interesting as a medium for like it's really easy to manipulate the statistics as far as they relate to population to try to get the point across that you're trying to get a point across sometimes. So that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, we could also like just say that in statistics in general, right? Like anytime you have a stat out there, you can kind of skew it in a way that's going to, that's going to work in your favor, and then people will kind of. But yeah, I especially get what you're saying about per capita and things like that, because I think that does matter. And a lot of people will say, and I don't know what it is, I'm not even sure if it still is Chicago, but a lot of people will say Chicago's the murder capital of the country. And then it's like, well, then you look at some statistics and you're like, well, actually, per capita, it's not. But you think about a lot of things, and I mean, we can get into all of that if we really wanted to. I wasn't even thinking about it, but with that kind of stuff, it's like obviously with crime and things like that, the more populated a place it's going to be, it's only logical to realize that there's going to be more crime, right? So so it's really when you look at per capita things where you kind of get an idea of things. And I know Anchorage is really high in gun deaths. I guess I was talking about murder, but gun deaths specifically. And there's some different, Baton Rouge, which is a play off my name. They stole it from me. My name is Matin Rouge, everybody, but those damn French bastards steal everything from me. But all right. But yeah. But first, before we get into some population, we have some sad news today, because we've just recently learned that our producer, Doofer, has been lost at sea world for the last 3 days. We have sent a literal SEAL team out to look for him. But the last time he was lost at SeaWorld, we found him in the midst of a dance contest with a dolphin. And he lost that dance battle pretty badly. You remember that, right? That was a pretty bad. He was a fool.
Yeah, I mean, it took him a while to get out of that wheelchair. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, he was bad. We will continue to monitor the situation as it develops, as hopefully our literal SEAL team can find our producer, Doofer. All right, well, before we really get into population, I have something that we're going to have to play. And this is for you, Brandon. Are you ready for
Got ourselves a pop quiz, yeah, a pop quiz. Do you know what it is? It's a pop quiz. Meow.
Man, I love tasting that jam. All right. Now, Brandon, we are going to get into I personally made up a quiz of 10 questions, all multiple choice. So I didn't want to make it too hard for you. And obviously, our topic for today is population. So these are population questions. Are you ready to have the population pop quiz?
Yeah, hit me with it, blow my mind.
All right. We got 10 questions, and here's the fun part. I am going to not tell you if your answer is correct until the end. So we're going to go through it at the end. Okay. So we got 3 real answers, and one answer, as always, is a parody porn name, which I love to do. So that ought to be fun for the audience. So for our first question, Brandon, what is the most populated state in the U.S.? Is it A, Texas, B, New York, C, California, or D, Black Cock Down?
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go C, California.
All right. All right. Question number 2. What is the most populated city in the U.S.? Excuse me. What is the most populated city in the U.S.? And this is using city proper, as they would say in England, or as they would say in America, we just call it the city limits. So this is not metro population. Not like it would matter, I don't think. But A, Los Angeles, B, New York City, C, Chicago, or D, glazed and confused.
Oh, glazed and confused. Okay, so I'm gonna go. Wait, can you go over the definition of city proper again? How is
Just city limits within
City
the city
limits.
limits.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that I want to go New York because I feel like I get the feeling like LA is more sprawling, and I think just city limits. Feel like New York has a higher chance of winning. I know they got lots of dense apartment buildings, like the whole I
Yeah, they go up to the clouds, man.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of Seinfeld maybe too much, but I'm gonna go with New York on that one. So that's B.
All right. Question number 3. What is the most populated county in the U.S.? Is it A, Los Angeles County? Is it B, Harris County, Texas, which is where Dallas is? Or C, Cook County, Illinois, which is where Chicago is? Or is it D, Goodwill Humping?
I don't know what to choose on this one. So LA, Dallas, or Chicago. And these are
Yeah.
the counties.
Los Angeles, Harris, or Cook?
Yeah, this is tough. I think that I want to go LA, but it could be Chicago. I'm gonna go LA, I guess. Yeah, that's A, right?
Is that your final answer?
You see, you just asked me that, and I feel like
No,
I was
no.
wrong.
I just wanted to do that because I've always wanted to host Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I auditioned for it but didn't get it, and I'm just really sad about
Okay.
it. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'll go LA just because that was the one I chose, and I don't want to switch it. I
Okay.
gotta stick with it.
Right. Number 4. What is the least populated state in the U.S.? Is it A, Alaska, B, Wyoming, C, Vermont, or D, Lord of the Cock Rings?
Okay. Now Alaska is huge, but I still want to go with them as the least populated, and think that I have to go Alaska on this one.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Alaska. That's A, right?
That is A.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Alaska.
All right. Number 5. What is the most densely populated state in the U.S.? Is it A, New Jersey, B, Massachusetts, C, Rhode Island, or D, my big fat Greek Woody?
Okay. Yeah, so densely populated. I'm assuming this is population per like acre or something like that.
Per square mile, yeah.
Per square mile. Okay.
Yeah. We don't fuck with that metric shit in this country.
Is acre metric?
Acre I don't think is, but I think obviously everywhere else they do per square kilometer, I'm
Square
assuming.
kilometer, yeah. New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. I'm gonna go New Jersey on this one.
All right.
And that was A, is that right?
That is A.
Yeah. I'm just
You
following
want to make
along.
sure that I'm going to get that I'm going to actually that I'm not going to bungle it at the end. Be
Well,
like,
I
oh,
don't
this is what Brandon answered, and they were all wrong.
I'm just being prudent, protecting my I don't know.
protecting my rep.
Yeah.
All right. Number 6. What is the most populated country in the world? Is it A, China, B, the United States, C, India, or D, natural born jigglers?
What continent is natural born?
Natural born jigglers?
Yeah.
I believe that's it's probably Antarctica.
Oh, okay. Well, based on that, I think I'm gonna go China. Yeah, I would say it's China number 1, India 2, and US maybe 3.
Okay.
I'm not even sure if US.
You didn't have to do any extra credit. You didn't have to rank them.
Well, I'm trying to make up for
Alright.
the fact that you said Is that your final answer on number 3? Because I'm still thinking
Are
about
you
the.
still thinking about that?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I know I got it wrong. Okay,
This is the Socially Awkward
Yeah.
podcast. We have a lot of anxiety here. We think about things.
am I allowed to think while I talk? While I think about something else when I'm talking?
If you're capable of it. Sounds like a hard thing to do, but if you're capable
I
of
don't
it.
think I am capable. So number 6, I'll go China. Yeah.
All right. So you went A, China. All right. Number 7. What is the most populated city in the world? And this is metro. Okay. So is it A, Shanghai, China? Is it B, New Delhi, India? Is it C, Tokyo, Japan? Or is it D, Planet of the Gapes?
Shanghai, New Delhi, or Tokyo.
And actually, I think it might just be called Delhi now. I'm not sure if it is still New Delhi. I don't know. Everybody changes their name so often. Except for us, we don't really do that very often unless it's the Gulf of Mexico.
Eventually
Then
it'll
we
be
change it.
old Delhi, I think, after you have to
Yeah,
wait.
after a while.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to eat an old deli.
My gut is telling me logically to just go with Shanghai, but I think it could be because there's like other cities that are very monolithic that like there's something about Tokyo that makes me want to say Tokyo for some reason. Yeah, I'm gonna throw a curveball. I'll just go Tokyo.
All right. Good curveball. All right. Back to the U.S. Question number 8 is, what is the least populated county in the U.S.? Is it A, Loving County, Texas? Is it B, Kalawao County, Hawaii? Is it C, Arthur County, Nebraska? Or is it D, Risky Business?
Okay, so as a side effect of these being the lowest populated counties, it makes sense that I would probably not have heard of any of them unless I'm a big like fan of trivia.
Right, right.
So, I'm gonna go with Arthur County because I like the way it sounds. Just a nice
You like
simple.
the good old art? Did you used to watch Arthur?
No, I never did. No, but
Yeah, I never did either.
yeah.
It was weird. I don't know.
I was
I
too
think
cool.
it was too like educational. And when things become too educational when you're a child, you're like, get this off the TV
Yeah.
screen. Bring on the snorks. I used to love the snorks. All right. Which are the Smurfs of the sea, basically, if anybody didn't know that. All right. Number 9. What is the most populated city in Alaska? Is it A, Juneau, B, Anchorage, C, Fairbanks, or D, Saturday Night Beaver?
Let's go with Anchorage on that one. That's
All
another
right.
one I'm really not sure about, but yeah, let's go with Anchorage.
All right. All right. And your final question of this pop quiz, number 10. This one's kind of fun. The least populated capital city in the U.S. Is it A, Pierre, South Dakota, B, Augusta, Maine, or C, Montpelier, Vermont, or D, Tits a Wonderful Life?
What was the C one? Montpelier?
Montpelier, Vermont.
Montpelier.
Montpelier, I believe it's French.
I think because that name is just weird to say, I feel like people might not live there as much.
You think that's the whole reason?
Yeah, you just get tired of like where are you for? You're playing a game online.
Right, right. They're like, I'm moving the fuck out of this place
Yeah.
because I can't even pronounce it.
Montpelier, and you're on Call
Yeah.
of Duty getting shot by some sweat, and you're like Montpelier is where
Right.
you live. Yeah,
Some dude from like Chicago's just ragging on you.
yeah. So that's my answer.
All right. So you're going with Montpelier.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over this. All right. So number 1 was, what was the most populated state in the U.S.? You said California. You are correct. Obviously, that one is probably one of the most well-known questions. There is no population to Black Cock Down because they're cocks and we don't count them. In New York has 20 million people, Texas has 32 million people, and California has 39 million people. Texas is rising. We'll talk about the population growth of some of these states at a later time. Number 2, what is the most populated city in the U.S.? You said New York City. The correct answer is New York City. New York City has 8.3 million people. Its metro is huge. I think it's like, I don't know, close to 20. Los Angeles has 3.8 million people. Chicago has 2.7 million people. Question number 3, what is the most populated county in the US? You said A, Los Angeles County. You are correct. Los Angeles County has 9.8 million people. That is more than 40 other states. 40 of the states have a less population than Los Angeles County, just for kind of, I'm sure people may have heard that stat before. It is true. Harris County in Texas has 4.9 million people. Cook County in Illinois is 5 million people. And I believe that was the question where I said, is that your final answer?
Yeah.
And so you didn't get it wrong. I
Okay.
was just
All right.
I was just trying to be Regis for a minute.
I was just being awkward. You know, that county, it seems like they should split that county up because it feels like it probably represents too many people at once.
It is a lot. And if you look at like a congressional map of California and the amount of, I can't remember how many it was, but it was like, I don't know. There was a ton of congressional districts in Los Angeles County. And I think they have to like represent like around, sometimes they represent it anywhere between like, 350,000 to like a million people. So you can only imagine that there's probably like 10 there just alone in that county.
Yeah.
All right. So number 4, the least populated state in the US. You said A, Alaska. This is your first incorrect answer. Alaska has 733,536 people. Vermont has 647,818 people. And Wyoming, which is the least populated state in the country, has
Man.
586,485 people.
So I chose the most populated of the 3 least populated.
You did. But at least in your defense, there are 47 other states that are more populated than Alaska, because Alaska is the 3rd least populated state.
Okay. Okay.
Right. Number 5, the most densely populated state. You said A, New Jersey, and you are correct. New Jersey has 9 million people. I didn't write down the population density, and I probably should, but it is a small state, and it's got 9 million people for being that small of a state. Rhode Island has just over 1 million people. Massachusetts has 7 million people, and there were 748 people at my Big Fat Greek Woody,
Oh.
and it was a fun time.
Okay. You know, those 3 options, because I wasn't sure. I'm not real good at like estimating the land mass of comparing these places because they all kind of sound similar in my head when I hear them. But I said New Jersey because I just felt like I hear of New Jersey more. It's more in pop culture. It's more a setting in movies, and so based on that, I was like, I don't know the size difference, but I do feel like one gets referenced more. So that would lead me to New Jersey. That's why I said that.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, I had no idea.
Okay, so number 7 is the most populated city in the world. Nope, I'm sorry. We are at number 6 now. Most populated country in the world. You said A, China. Brandon. India has been growing at a rate much faster than China. They just surpassed China, I
No
think
way.
last year. It might have been earlier this year. India has 1,463,865,525 people. China has 1,416,096,094 people. India, so it was really recent when
Man.
India took over.
Trick question.
And they are rising, I think, at one of the highest levels. There's actually a country in Africa that's, I think, has the highest population growth rate right now. All right. So right now you are 4 of 6. You've only got 2 wrong.
Okay.
And I'm not sure. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know if you've gotten any other ones wrong. Well, you might have. Hold on. All right. Number 7, the most populated city in the world, going on metro population. You said C, Tokyo. And you are correct. Tokyo has 37 million people in their metro area. Shanghai has 35 million. And Delhi or New Delhi or whatever they call it now has 30 million people. All right.
Okay. Yeah. So Tokyo. Yeah. It just seems like Tokyo is like, it's a monolithic kind of city standing out. I don't know. The Shanghai. What do I have to say about that? You know what? Keep going. I'll think
Okay.
about my thoughts,
All right.
and I might have
All
none.
right. Okay. Number 8, back to the U.S. population. Least populated county in the U.S. Now, I realize this was probably more of a guess for you. You said C, Arthur County, Nebraska. The answer is actually Kalawao County in Hawaii, which only has 86 people. Loving County in Texas would have been next at 169 people. Arthur County has 463 people. The fun fact about Kalawao County in Hawaii is it used to be a designated, I guess, what would you call that, quarantine area for leprosy. So they would put people there for leprosy, and the county can have no more people move in. So once everybody dies in that county, they are going to dissolve it. The county will no longer exist. So it's just kind of an interesting thing. So I'm assuming that this is going to stay on the most least populated county list
Yeah.
until there's no more people,
So,
and then they
sir,
just get rid of it.
is it that surrounding counties are going to absorb that land then, or like, is there another county that's
I
going
don't
to?
know exact. I didn't get that far into the reading. I just thought it was really interesting that it used to be, kind of a spot for people with leprosy. They would put
Like,
them there,
it's like an exile?
and yeah, kind of. That's
Yeah.
kind of what it described, and I'm assuming this was like a long time before Hawaii was even a state. But yeah, it's just interesting. So right now you are at 5 out of 8, which is still good.
Yeah.
5
Okay.
out of 8 is what? That's
It's a percentage.
63%. Yeah, it
So,
is a percentage. Yes, you're right. All right. Number 9, most populated city in Alaska. You said B, Anchorage, and you are correct. It is Anchorage. Anchorage is 291,247 people. It blows Juneau and Fairbanks out of the water, by the way. Juneau is 32,255. Fairbanks is 32,515. So Anchorage is by far the largest city in Alaska. And then finally, for number 10, I said the least populated capital city in the US. And you went with Montpelier because people wouldn't want to live there because it's hard to pronounce. Well, I don't know if that's the reason why they don't want to live there, Brandon, but it is correct. Montpelier
okay.
has only 8,074 people. Here, South Dakota has 14,091 people, and Augusta, Maine has 18,899 people. Well, you went 7 for 10. You got 70%.
Passing grade?
It's not bad. Yeah, good times. So, did you learn anything off of that besides the least populated county?
I learned that you're really great at coming up with city names.
Yeah.
I also learned that, no, I think that's all I learned.
Okay. Okay.
Actually, genuinely though, the India China thing surprised me. I didn't realize that they had surpassed them, or they were even that. I knew they were a densely populated country, but I didn't realize that they were, yeah, passing them surprised me quite a bit.
Yeah.
I wonder what the future, because I've always heard, like economically, I've always heard that the U.S. and China sort of have this rivalry where people project that China is going to become like the leading currency, because of because everything comes from China, and they do so much trade everywhere, all manufacturing in China. And so it's always been sort of a concern about like where we're going to be positioned with China. But I just wonder like where India is on that list, um, and what that means for the future of like trade and the economy and things like that. So that's interesting.
Yeah, because India doesn't really get talked about much as far as like with our government. Uh yeah, I know the growth rate in China or is down. I know that the birth rate in China is down. And India, I know it's up, but I don't know. I don't really know the comparisons. We're going to dive into some US statistics in a minute, and then we'll dive a little bit more into the world statistics as well. But first, this just in, it appears that our producer Doofer has been located in Smut Eye, Alabama. He has been spotted enjoying some of that famous Smut Eye pie. Hmm. Man, I hope he brings me some of that delicious piece of Smut Eye pie. Do you like Smut Eye pie?
I'm not sure. I had it before? Would I know?
I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't share, so probably not from me.
Oh,
If
well,
I
let's
got some
just.
smut eye, I ain't getting rid of that.
All right. Well, let's just say I love it and move on then, I guess.
By the way, I do want to say that Smut Eye, Alabama is a real place, just so you know.
Is it
It's not a place I made up. It is definitely a real place. All right.
SMUTEYE?
You got it.
Oh,
Just, yep.
okay. The way
Yeah.
it
They didn't.
sounds. It's spelled the way you want it to be spelled, and that's what's important, I think.
Yeah, that's what is important. It's easy for kids to remember when they're writing letters to their Smut Eye representatives
Yeah, Smut Eye pen
representing them.
pals. I had one in 4th grade. Every kid should.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna talk a little bit about state populations. Um, Obviously, we know that California is the most populated state. California has a annual growth rate right now of 0.59%. Texas growth rate is 1.8%. It's one of, I think, is it the highest on this list? I think it is the highest. Yes, it is the highest. So California, Texas, Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Ohio, Georgia, North Carolina, and Michigan are the top 10 most populated states. They're the only 10 states with 10 or more million people in it. Um, although some of those states have been losing population. Illinois and Ohio and Pennsylvania, which kind of make up part of the Midwest and the Rust Belt, um, they are the three most populated states. Well, besides, I guess, Michigan too. Even though Michigan is kind of on a coast, but the rest, everybody else is on, um, an ocean coast. And I guess you could say that for Illinois and Ohio, right? The most populated city in Illinois, and I think Chicago and its surrounding areas. I'm gonna say takes up probably nearly, I don't know, 40%, 50% of Illinois' population, and that's all off Lake Michigan. So you can tell that where a lot of the most populated states and the most populated cities, they're usually on a lake, they're usually on a coast, maybe a river, like Memphis would be on a river. Um, we learned that Wyoming is the least populated state, Vermont is the second least populated state, Alaska is the third least populated, and then the Dakotas come in fourth and fifth with North and South Dakota. What do you feel about living, like, you've been around a little bit, been around the block, right? Across the country a little bit. You've lived in Texas, correct?
I have, yeah. I lived in Austin for a couple years. Yeah.
You lived in Colorado?
Um, I have not lived in Colorado. No,
Maybe you were just
I visited there for a time, um, but I didn't live there. I
what
almost lived there.
any other states that
Yeah,
you've lived in,
Calif-
or
California. Um, I
where
lived
did
in
you live in
California.
California? What city?
It was a city called Desert Hot Springs. I don't highly recommend it, but it's in the Coachella Valley, and it's adjacent
Ooh,
to more popular cities like Palm Springs, um, or maybe like Palm Desert, like other cities like that. I think Palm Springs is one of the more notable ones there. Um, and it gets really hot. Yeah, so Desert Hot Springs, it gets really hot. There is a fair amount of crime in Desert Hot Springs, and that's compared to the other cities, and that's why I said I don't recommend it. However,
gotcha.
that does make it cheaper to live in, which benefited me during that time in my life. But yeah, that was my time in California. And then I've lived in Oregon, in Portland for a little while as well, for a little under a year.
Ooh, is Portland as crazy as they say it is?
I'm gonna say yeah, yeah. I think it is. And the winter times in Portland are really brutal because you don't get that strong seasonal change in terms of like how what we get in other states where you get tons of snow falling on it. And it's, you get like a white Christmas, you get these beautiful summers that bloom. So like Portland, you probably have great summers where I was there mostly. So like I was there a little under a year. So I think I probably went there about midway towards the end of the summer. And then I left like at the beginning of the summer, which if you talk to anybody from Portland, they'll tell you it was pretty much the worst time period for somebody to be there. And what it looks like in the wintertime, because they're close enough to the coast to get some coastal warmth. So it's never really snowing a lot, but it rains all the time. It's just dreary, gloomy, wet, damp, and rainy like the entire winter
No wonder
season.
they're so angry in Portland all the time.
Yeah, yeah, and
Just
not
the
just
weather and
weird. Yeah,
stuff.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Where did you live in Texas?
Texas, I lived in Austin.
Okay.
That was that was a good time. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the mixture of people you get there because you really get the spectrum of at least when I was there. I mean that was like 10 years ago, and places evolve over time. But even when I was there, there was just a good spectrum of people. There were people of all classes and types, political ideologies, all these things. You could really run into somebody of anything, and so it felt a little bit more like, yeah, it felt like an adventure in like an intellectual adventure when you were meeting people, because you never knew what kind of like uh political or ideological leaning you were going to run into. So there was
Did you
great
ever run
conversations.
into Joe Rogan?
No, that was before I think Joe Rogan moved there. He used to be a
Okay.
California guy, I believe.
I
Um,
think so, yeah. There's been a lot of people that have the California exodus, as they called it, and a lot of them went to like Texas and Florida. Um, and so probably because a lot of them were in LA County and they're like, shoulder to shoulder, like, okay, I think we need to get a little less people in here.
yeah, let's space out a little bit. Yeah,
Right,
totally.
right. We need to stretch and stuff like that. But
Yeah, and a lot of the people that are part of the Exodus I think that are find themselves more in alignment with probably some of Texas's political positions, that they generally have.
yeah.
But there are other aspects to it. Like, I think that you'll probably tell me, I'm sure you have some data on this, but like cost of living in a lot of areas in Texas are probably lower than um, in California. Um, that being said, they probably also have a minimum wage difference. I think, isn't California the highest with the state minimum wage? Am I
Yes,
wrong?
there, and I think that California. I actually don't have those data points, but I have looked into them before. California, I
Yeah,
think, has one. I think the highest average annual income per person is if not the highest, it's probably in like the top five. Um, and then Texas and the Florida, where people are going both to those places. Yeah, I think there's some political ideologies there. I think there's also right the no state income taxes. I just saw recently that Governor DeSantis in Florida is talking about getting rid of property taxes, which in theory sounds wonderful.
yeah,
However, you have to also think about when you get rid of certain taxes that like property taxes usually go towards like public services and things like that. So when you get rid of those, you have to wonder what that's going to do, if it's going to make that less of, or if they're just going to come up with a different tax. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And
I
that kind of
I
happens a
agree.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those.
So
I mean, budget
it's
things.
interesting.
It's really nice. Like, politicians love to. I think they love to announce budget cuts and tax breaks for people, but yeah, it's got to be a really hard job to really figure out where this money's going to come from. And you see it in some states that have like there's like no, maybe some states that have no tax, but you see that other things are taxed higher, or the cost of goods is just generally higher to cover that. Um, I like the idea of not paying property tax, but I agree that it's like, then what? It's going to come out of somewhere. I think that the same thing happens. For example, I'm a proponent for UBI, and I think that more than ever as we move forward, we're going to need something like that for the population. But I do recognize that it's the same problem where it's like, where does that money come from? And I think that the utopian dream is that AI and robotics takes off so much that it sort of offsets, is sort of, it offsets the economic strain that a UBI creates. But it, it's going to be, there's going to be a dark period that we go through. That's really gonna, I think it's going to
Oh
be
God,
hard
we're
for
not
people.
going through it now.
Oh,
I thought we were in the
I
midst
think,
of a dark period. I don't
yeah.
know. I don't
What are you
know.
talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
I
don't know.
agree.
I don't know.
No, I agree.
I think that yeah, it's always tough. I think that you have all these people saying, "Well, you don't have to pay taxes on this or that. This is what we're going to do for you." But it's always in there somewhere. And the crazy thing is you can look at all these tax breaks and things like that, but I just read something a couple days ago that says our national debt is going up like every day. and it just keeps getting worse and worse, and it's going up by like trillions of dollars in like 6 months increments. And but is it really fair for the government to just tax everybody up the wazoo to help pay down the debt? No, it's not, because for the most case scenarios, like, I mean, the government is the one. The problem with taxes, I think, is that we don't really know. There's no breakdown anywhere of what go. I mean, there are certain ones, like, you pay Social Security out of your check, where that goes. But as far as just regular, like, taxes, city taxes, state taxes, federal taxes, there is no breakdown anywhere, right? Where you can go and be like, okay, well, what percentage is going to this or what percentage is going to that? They don't tell you those things. It's not a rule. It's not a law. I wish it was. But then that's also, it would cost more money, right? To have people hire people to actually do the breakdown so people could see where it would come. So there's always like a catch 22 with that. But yeah, it's just, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Would you you're kind of in a smaller city now, obviously, even though the city where we are is getting not necessarily the city, because the city's limits are so small, but the surrounding area, our county is or close to 100,000 people now. The metro area of our city is at like 180,000 people. So we're getting bigger, but it's pretty spread out, right? The metro area of our city is like 3 or 4 counties. Do you prefer bigger cities, or do you prefer, like, I don't even know if you've ever lived in a super rural area, probably when you were growing up. We know we talked about that. That was probably maybe the ruralest where you've lived. Uh,
Yeah.
but would you prefer like a more populated city, or are you okay with just anywhere?
In theory, I prefer populated cities. I think there's more opportunity for everything, but just more opportunity. As somebody who very easily falls into reclusive habits, I think that living in a city just gives you an order of magnitude more opportunities for human connection and creating friendships, relationships, or whatever opportunities are out there. And yeah, so when you're living in a rural area and you're already sort of an introverted type personality, sometimes it can feel really isolating. Now, the reason why I say in theory is because cities also come with a lot of negative aspects that I'm not that fond of. Um, cities with cities with high homeless populations are, um, and we can dive into the 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 altruistic aspects of it, of like why that happens or whatever. But on the surface, it's not pleasant to deal with. Like if you're somewhere in the middle and you're trying to climb a ladder, you're trying to make a better life for yourself. Like, um, there's a lot of aspects of of a city that's plagued with a heavy homeless population that makes it really, it makes it feel unsafe, and it makes it in it's yeah, I think that's the biggest drawback is the sense of lack of safety and security that you feel like you get when you're dealing with large swaths of population that are so, like, what would you say, like, disenfranchised or so downtrodden that, and you can't blame for people for resorting. Really, it's like you resort to any means that you can, right? So you
Right.
get so far down the ladder, and you have to do things like steal or obviously you're begging, and and all sorts of other behaviors that are hard to deal with, I think. So that's what I've dealt with in the cities. That was hard. Higher crime rates usually. I think even, you can correct me, I'm not sure, but per capita, I wonder if it's also higher, or I would assume that it is, but I'm not sure about that. But it feels higher. And
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I would say that. Like, I did say that there are, like, I think that there are more gun crimes in Anchorage per capita than there are in Chicago. Um, but or more
yeah,
gun deaths, I should say. But when they say gun deaths, they also include suicides, and Alaska has the highest suicide rate. Probably because in Texas, when you walk out, you meet a person, you see a person. In Alaska, when you walk out your house, you usually see a bear.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
something else. So, do you think that not to go too much into it because we're talking about population, but we'll get back into it in a second. Do you think that the reality is that homeless people are more dangerous, or that the reality is that we just think they are because there's a consistent kind of stigma around them being more dangerous?
I think they are more dangerous.
Okay. All right. Hot
And that
take.
I don't know the statistics on it. Maybe it's a hot take. It's based on anecdotal experience, but
Right.
I think that they are more dangerous. I know that homeless is also a mental health. There's a huge mental health issue, and I think that most people that commit crimes, I mean, really, if you're a mentally healthy person, why would you ever commit a crime anyway? I think there is just this like some sort of cause and effect possibly, or some co-relationship, right? Where mental health leads you to being homeless. And as a result of the mental health, you might be more predisposed to committing these crimes. But I think homelessness also is an opportunistic thing where it's like, if you don't have basic necessities, you don't have money, the system has failed you. Like, why
Right.
should you do anything to uphold, why follow the laws of a system that let you live under a bridge? You know what I mean? So I can almost empathize with the need to commit a crime. But yeah, so my hot take is I think that they do commit crimes higher than average. And yeah, and that's partially just based on my personal experience. And I've had great experiences with homeless people as well. But that's how it goes
Yeah,
for me. Yeah.
you have 95 of them living in your house right now. You brought
Yeah.
95 back to your house, and I thought that was really cool of you that you did that. Uh, and then
Yeah, thanks. My
you made
bathroom's a
them
mess.
manual labor. You put him through labor. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't have slaves, people. Let's not make that the headline. All right. Do you think that people on drugs are committing more crimes than homeless people? Even though I know that there are homeless people on drugs, but let's just kind of separate the two. And we can include the homeless people on drugs as part of the drug crime. But do you think that more people on drugs are more dangerous than people that are homeless in general? Oh, he's
I
looking at the
don't know.
ceiling.
Well, the funny thing about this is that it depends on how you define danger because I mean, like an individual person being dangerous, you could look at it as um like one person mugging another person is
Right.
so like the person doing the mugging is dangerous. But you also have the type of danger that doesn't involve drugs and homelessness, which is like mass shootings or um or even on a larger scale like dictators. Um and types of people
Those are the best
who would
potatoes, by
have
the way.
their
Dictators.
dictators.
I love those potatoes. They're so good.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
nice.
Did you just think of that?
Yeah.
That was good.
They're great. They're great.
Yeah, so
Actually, I'm gonna
dictators.
say that my mom used to say that all the time. She's like, "Dictators, man, it just makes me want potatoes." I'm like, "Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, that's
I get
great.
it. Yeah, it's good times." Um,
Yeah, so I'll say yeah. I think higher than average. Yeah, people on drugs. Yeah, I would say yeah.
all right, all right, all right. Well, let's get back to population. We don't want to go off
Sure,
into
yeah.
the deep end too much, but
Wait, did any of my hot takes real quick before we keep going? Did any of my takes on those like how did you feel? Did you have any immediate counterpoints to fire against any of those, or like because I think it is fair just to quickly get your assessment on
no,
this.
I think that you did a good job because you said that homeless people are more dangerous, although we didn't define the danger, obviously. But you did say it than regular people, which I agree with you. And then you went and you said a reason why. And so you did it very well. You know, they've been put down by the system or whatever it is that or mental health. There's a lot of factors coming into play. So and we've already talked about before how a lot of crime is out of necessity, right? It's out of like what they want or what they need. A lot of thieving, a lot of stealing. Most people don't just steal for the fun of it, right? It's usually out of necessity. And so yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't really have too many hot takes. We're just gonna stay on the level, and
All right.
that's right where it is. Um, I want to talk about really quick. I was wrong that Texas has the highest annual growth rate. Florida actually has 2% annual growth rate. Texas is 1.8. Utah is getting a lot of people, a lot of Mormons going to Utah.
Wow.
1.72%. South Carolina, 1.66%. Nevada, 1.63%. Idaho, 1.52%. North Carolina, 1.49%. Delaware, wow, that little place, 1.47%. Delaware, by the way, has the least amount of counties amongst all states with only three. And then Arizona has 1.44% growth rate, and New Jersey has a 1.28%. I would also like to state that, what was I going to say? Oh, that my big fat Greek Woody has a growth percent of 5.5%. So that is where we're at with that. Um, those are some fun state population things. By the way, if you want to know, Puerto Rico has a population of 3,202,800 people. I don't know how many people need to hear this, but Puerto Rico is part of the United States of America. And District of Columbia has 717,176 people, and it has an actual rate change higher than Florida, 2.13%. So a lot of people moving to the district. I think that's what they call it over there, right? Like they just say the district, the D,
Yeah. Yeah, the
the
big D.
D of the C. Yeah, the big D. Oh, I guess that's Detroit actually. So those are just some population statistics. As a whole and as a country, I think I already said it before. We have 347 million people. It was only like I think a year or two ago that we had about 330 million people. So we are definitely on the up and up, which I guess is a good thing, right? You don't want to be on the down and down. Um, and then I want to go look at some population of some countries in the world. And before I talk about this, I want to do three fun stats for you. Okay. So an estimated 5 billion people live on the continent of Asia, which is 60 to 62% of the world's population that lives in one continent. Around 7 billion people live in the northern hemisphere, which accounts for about 87 to 90% of the world's population, which is insane to me that only a little over a billion people live in the southern hemisphere and the rest live in the northern hemisphere. But to be fair, that is where most of the land is. The eastern hemisphere has around 6.5 billion people, which means 80% of the people live in the eastern hemisphere. So very crowded over there, even though China's pretty big. India's pretty big. Russia's pretty big, even though Russia doesn't have a high population. But let's talk about some of these countries. Now, obviously, you know that India is now the most populated country in the world. And here's your thing. And this is from their yearly change. So China over from 2024 to 2025 lost 0.23% of their people. And India had a growth rate of 0.89%. So that's kind of why India took over there. The US of A is third on that list with 347 million people. Growth rate is 0.5%. And then I believe, is it Russia that is? Yes. No, not Russia. Indonesia is fourth with 285 million. Pakistan with 255 million. Nigeria was the country I was talking about before. Nigeria has a 2.08% growth rate, and Ethiopia has a 2.58%. Congo in Africa has 3.25%. It's important to note that a lot of countries in Africa have a high growth rate
Hmm.
and a high birth rate as well. Their birth rate is quite high. Um, here's a here are migrant numbers. So this might be interesting for some people. The United States has 1,230,663 migrants. Now, I'm not exactly sure how they're defining migrants here, um, But I will say that India has lost 495,000 migrants. China has lost 268,000 migrants. And Pakistan has lost 1,235,000 migrants. And then here's the big thing, the fertility rate. The fertility rate in China is 1.02. The fertility rate in India is 1.94, and the fertility rate in the US is 1.62. Once you start getting into some of these African countries, though, Ethiopia has a fertility rate of 3.81. Egypt has a fertility rate of 2.71. Congo, the DR Congo, has a fertility rate of 5.9. So just some interesting stats there. And then you kind of look at urban population. Urban population in India is 37.1% of their population is urban. So this is interesting too to me because 37.1% of their population in India is urban. 82.8% of the population of the United States lives in urban areas. So that is pretty stellar. And Brazil has the one of the highest rates. 91.4% live in urban population areas. In Japan, with 123 million people, 93% of their people live in urban areas, which, we kind of found that out when we found out about Tokyo being one of the largest cities in the world. All right. So anything that jumps out on you on that, or any hot takes? Probably not. It's just population stats, but I mean,
Well,
some of
I'm
those growth
interested.
rates are pretty crazy, or fertility rates.
Yeah, yeah, those growth. It's interesting. Not that all our migrants are Pakistani. Our growth rate is almost exactly the opposite of Pakistan's. It looks like, or I'm sorry, migrant patterns. One
Yeah,
point
yeah,
two three, like very close. Um,
yeah.
the 6 kids in Congo is really crazy. Is that kids on average per female, or is it per couple, like per family
I
unit?
think the
Do you know?
fertility rate is that per female?
Per male, maybe? I don't know.
And normally I would go to producer Doofer on this, but he's
Yeah, but
all around the
he's
country, man. So it's the average number of children a woman is expected to have in her lifetime.
yeah, 6 is a lot. And I mean, there's some with I don't know where how technologically advanced medicine is where it's practiced in the Congo. Because my interpretation of Congo is that it's a little bit of a country that's in turmoil. Am I wrong about that? That there's
I think you're right. I think there's quite a few countries in Africa that, have had some kind of ongoing fighting or
yeah.
just civil war type fighting
Yeah,
going on.
civil unrest, civil war. So
Right.
6 kids. I mean, there's probably some women there that are having 3 kids, or complications in childbirth. So 6 average means there's got to be a fair amount of women that are having like 8, 9, 10 kids. On the high side of the average, and yeah, that's crazy. Um, I think that you'll probably dig into this, and let me know. But what do you think about the argument over population when people talk about like replacement rates for countries, right? Like China, um, not having enough kids. There's people say that in the US we're not having enough kids. And I think that doesn't I mean 1.62 doesn't sound too bad. I think that was the number you quoted for the US.
Yeah. I think it is down. I think at one point it was 1.9 or something like that. So, um, and there are people that will say that that's one of the reasons why we've got to get rid of a lot of the immigrants is because we're being overshadowed by them. I can guarantee, I don't have the numbers here, but I can guarantee you that the immigrants within the United States probably have a higher fertility rate than Americans themselves. Um, so there is, and we'll get into the demography of it all soon, anyways, where we can start looking at like ages and races and cultures and things like that. But first, we have an update on our producer Doofer's location. Um, I'm getting now that producer Doofer has been spotted in Sugartit, South Carolina. Apparently, Doofer has taken the name literally and is currently searching for a sweet tasting bird. Um, Sugartit is close to Fingerville, I do believe, which is one of my favorite places. But Doofer always did have a taste for birds, didn't he, Bran Antonio?
Yeah, I think like the toucans and boobies is that what they're called.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, quite a flavor, quite a taste for it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm only big on like usually like the birds that they're not like 100% flightless, but they don't really fly too much. I'm into like the chickens of the world and the turkeys and things like that. Maybe a little emu if I'm,
Okay.
feeling fancy.
Are you talking about like the dyed black hair and the lip rings?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you gotta date one emu in your life. I believe you have, right? You've dated an emu, right?
I certainly have. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, emu rock is the best, by the way. It's the best music ever. Good Charlotte. Go Good Charlotte. All right. Shout out to them. All right. So now, before we get into some demography, you know what time?
It's time for our fake sponsors.
Oh, okay. Thank you, weird, seductive voice. We are fake sponsored by a brand new thriller novel, a New York Mimes bestseller, Silent but Deadly. Tells the story of a diabolical and gassy psychopathic mime named Grimy, who stalks his victims with his soft ballet steps and tortures them with his rancid flatulence. Silence but Deadly, now available on Fartify. We are also fake sponsored by a brand new Law and Order show called Law and Order: Murder of Crows. On this week's episode, when a murder of crows murders a murder of crows, will a murder of crows convict a murder of crows for murdering a murder of crows? Find out this week on Law and Order: Murder of Crows, streaming on Crow Time. I love that show, by the way. My favorite character is Velcro. Oh, he's he's a cool cat. I really hate this other character though. He's a racist bastard. His name is Jim Crow. God, he's a dick. But great
Man.
show. Takes place in Crowledo, Ohio, and it's a great program. Have you seen it yet?
No, I don't think I've seen that yet. Is Crow Time a subsidiary of Peacock by any chance?
It could be. It could be. Yeah. Unfortunately, I tried to get Peacock, but I accidentally signed up for Seacock, and that is not good. That is not a good. That's not good at all. They just show Oz, the show, just on
Oh.
like 24 hours, and it's just a bunch of dicks in a prison, and it's not.
Yeah, I
very
try to
fun.
stay away from those avian channels if I can.
Yeah. They're pretty crazy. All right, let's talk about some demography. What a great word, demography. Some demographics of the United States. First of all, I want to say that between 2010 and 2022, Texas had the largest growth, where they grew by nearly 5 million residents in those 12 years, 4.8 million to be exact. Illinois had the largest decline with 258,513 fewer people. Among counties, Maricopa County in Arizona, which is the county for Phoenix, had the largest growth with 726,341 more people. And this is from the 12-year span from 2010 to 2022. Los Angeles County, California, had the largest decline with 100,509 fewer residents. Well, I'm going to say there's 9.8 million people there. 100,509, you got yourself a little bit more room, but I feel like you're going to need a little bit more room than that. So I'm sure there'll be more going. The U.S. population grew by nearly 8% from 309.3 million people who lived there in 2010. So in 2010, we were at about 309 million people. We are now at 347 million people. So in the last 15 years, we've grown by about 8 million people, somewhere around there. Let's take a look at some racial and ethnic populations. So the white population is at about, over about 180 million people. This graph I'm looking at is really weird. A Hispanic, Latino, which Hispanic and Latino, they're not a race, but I realized that they're more of like an ethnicity, and that's probably why they say that. over 50 million, about 60, probably around 60 million people. This is on a graph and I'm trying to guess because the increments are 50 million people. So I'm trying to guess them. And then black people, non Hispanic, are at about probably about 25 million people. And then you have non Hispanic multiracial, which is probably about 7 million, non Hispanic American, which is, I don't know, maybe a million. And then Indian, Alaska, and Native Hawaiian represent probably less than a million of people looking at that graph. And this kind of tells you what our racial makeup of is here. In 2010, 63.8% of the people were white. I could have just read this. This would have been easier. 63.8% were whites. And then we have 4.8% Asian. We have 12.3% black and 16.4% Hispanic Latino. In 2022, it went down to 58.9% white, 6.1% Asian, 12.6% black, and 19.1% Hispanic and Latino. Some population by ages. 20 to 34 is the largest of the population of the age groups, and that's much over 60 million. 35 to 49, which we would fall into, uh, looks like around maybe just around 62, 63 million people. 50 to 64 looks like a little less than that, maybe 61, 62. 5 to 19 is about 59, 61. I don't know, it's hard to read there. And 65 plus is almost about 58 million people that are over the age of 65. And then we have the, I guess, toddler category, 0 to 4 years of age, and that's about 18, 19 million people. Anything standing out to you so far?
Well, yeah, I just noticed that the biggest population change between the two times that you noticed was because the white population went down considerably,
Hmm.
and it seems like
That had
Asians
nothing
and
to do with me.
Hispanics. Well, you're still here, yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. I
yeah,
like to
I thought that was
microwave
because the
people though.
okay. Well, that could have an effect. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Just their heads.
yeah. It's hard to say. Yeah, I mean the black population is pretty stable. They grew a little bit, but yeah, it seems like Asians and Hispanics really, which I wasn't aware of the statistics in terms of like the population change from the 2 points. What were the two? What was it? 2010 to 20 or 2022?
2010 to 2022. So
Yeah,
this is USA Facts that I'm looking this from too. USA Facts is a website that I often go to kind of just compare some different statistics.
yeah. How do you feel about the trends are going to continue to the point in the future you might find yourself as a minority. Does that really have any effect? Do you think there's any effect from that, or that's not really probably even by the time that happens? Hopefully, race is even less of an issue than it is now. But I think that's a utopian dream. Well, what do you think about it?
Well, I mean, even looking at the numbers now, I really think, well, first of all, we are definitely having a crackdown on how many people are coming into this country. Obviously, now, whatever side you're on that, it is what it is, I guess. We can get into that in another topic and at a later date. But I'm not worried about that at all. I don't think it would happen in our lifetimes. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I think that that's one of the reasons why they wanted to crack down on this, because there is a point where you feel like as a country, you're like, okay, well, not enough Americans, not enough white Americans or whatever it be. It shouldn't just be white Americans. It should be every American, right? But there are people that feel that way too. And I also think that that's just like we were talking about with birth rate and fertility rate. I mean, that has gone down. So that also could be contributing to the lack of population. But also, I think that one of the reasons why America is one of the greatest countries in the world, I'll never say it's the greatest country in the world because there's a lot of things bad with America as well. But one of the reasons why it's one of the greatest countries in the world, I always thought was because of our diversity. And so, you know, At what point do you say, okay, maybe we have too many of these people or too many of these people? I don't know. But if they're born here and they're citizens, then I have no problem with them. Also, if they're here and they're trying to get citizenship and they have no crimes, I'm fine with them. I read a news release a few days ago that said over 70% of the immigrants that are being detained right now do not have a criminal record. And that was kind of interesting to me. So, I don't have we've talked about it before. I think the way that you get citizenship and things like that needs to change. It's a very slow process. And now it sounds like our current president says that, if you've got $5 million or 1 million or whatever it is, he's got this thing where you can come in and become a citizen. So now it's just become like a business, which is probably not the best option either. But I don't know. It's really hard to tell. I'm not in politics. I like to pay attention to politics, but there's a reason why I'm not in it or I won't run for politics because, my gosh, some of these things that you have to answer or try to do are really difficult. And they're hard questions for a reason. They're hard things, and I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to deal with it. But
Agreed.
yeah. The average number of people in a family, these are all 2022 numbers, is 3.1. The percent of young adults aged 25 to 34 living at home is 15.6%. And we have 131.2 million households, and the voting age population during elections in 2022 was 255 million people. I think, as most people know, that we don't ever get near that number for voting. Not a lot of people vote. Texas has got one of the hugest gaps of people who vote and people who are eligible vote that don't vote. So it's just kind of interesting. And I think we might go into those stats. I think we might do a episode at a later date about the 2024 presidential election, and we will dive deep into the statistics of where people voted, how they voted, changes from previous elections, and things like that. I think that'll be pretty interesting. So, those are just some kind of the demographics of the US. Is there any demographic that you hate more than the other, Brandon? Do you like them
Yeah,
all
sure. Let
equally?
me let me just tell you
The
which ones I hate.
Eskimos? Not the Eskimos. Come on,
Uh,
man. Okay.
yeah, the Inuits have a diet mostly of meat, so
Yeah.
I love I love bringing them up to sort of as my counter argument to that we naturally should all be just eating lettuce. Who knows?
Right, right. But those Inuits, man, they're surviving and
Yeah,
they're
they're
constantly on the
if
move, right?
it's yeah, they are. If you look it up, their diet is I think it's almost exclusively meat. It's like 99+% of their diet is just meat.
And it's probably they hunt and then they just cook that shit up.
Yeah,
They're
I
probably
think there's a lot
eating
of
healthier than we are.
probably I think there's a lot of fish in their diet.
Right.
A lot
Oh
of
yeah, fish is good. Don't want too much mercury, but other than that, fish is good. Yeah.
yeah, there you
Um.
go.
All right.
I
Well,
had cheap tuna once and it gave me the runs for 2 days. So be careful with the 39-cent cans of tuna.
yeah.
Yeah,
Don't buy the cheap
that's a little fun
tuna.
fact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a personal. Yeah. Um. That'll be in my visions for days. All right, so here's another update on producer Doofer's location. He's found himself in Dick Shooter, Idaho. That's not good. The last time the Doofer was in Dick Shooter, he accidentally shot his own dick off. And do you remember how he just complained and complained around the office? And it was too much, man. He wanted, like, insurance and stuff. And I don't know. But on the plus side, he is near Cream Can Junction. And I hope he picks me up one of those delicious cream cans, man, because I love me a can of cream. It is great. But also, I want to say he's been to a lot of different places tonight. And I don't think we should have gotten due for that private jet because I feel like he's really running up the miles. And
Yeah.
I mean, he's moving that thing around more than Taylor Swift. And that's insane to me. All right. Let's go into some animal populations. All right. And I
Okay.
want to specifically look at certain things. First of all, I don't know if you ever heard the statistic, but there are more chickens in the world than people. So I guess that's good that we're eating them. I guess that's a plus to
And we
that.
probably eat our population every year as well, at a minimum.
Right. Yeah, if we're cannibals, we do.
You know, I think
But
I'm good
no.
for like 8 chickens a year.
Oh, I see. I see. I thought you meant we eat our own population. I got you.
No, no,
Okay.
that
Yeah.
too, sure.
Yeah. All right. So let's just take a look at some cool kind of facts about these. So, insects, there's an estimated total population of 10 quintillion individuals globally. The United States alone hosts a staggering 91,000 species of insects. Interesting enough. Fish have a global population of 0.5 trillion. So, there's more fish than people, obviously, spanning over 32,000 species. Birds are at an estimated about 50 billion individuals across approximately 10,000 avian species. And the ubiquitous rock dove, oh God, I love me a rock dove, commonly known as the pigeon. Okay, well, I don't really like pigeons, so I take my rock dove love back. Alone boasts a population of around 400 million. So 400 million pigeons, and that's why you have so much pigeon crap on everything. Reptiles, uh, they have about 10,000 species globally and about a population of 82 million for its three most common lizards. So that's kind of interesting. Um, cattle. Cattle's a good one. There's about 1.5 billion cattle in the world. And we are going to go over really quick something else that I want to kind of point out. Which state, if you had to guess, Bran Antonio, would have the most cattle? Well, it's back at the ceiling again.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna go by like maybe a little bit of I'm gonna hedge my bets with landmass a little bit. I don't know if this is too
Alaska,
warm for lots of cattle. Well, no, I'm gonna say I don't know, Texas.
Texas does. Texas has 12
Okay.
million cattle. And the poor state with the least amount of cattle, I mean, it's pretty common with the space of the state of how big it is. Rhode Island has the least amount of cattle with 3,700. Michigan, the state that we are from, over a million, just about 1.1 million cattle. Idaho has 2.5 million. California has over 5 million. Colorado has 2.5 million. So just kind of interesting. Oklahoma is, I think, the second best. Yeah, Oklahoma has the second most cattle at, I lost the number here. Where's Oklahoma? Actually, it doesn't have the second best. Nebraska has the second best with just over 6 million cattle. Kansas has just under 6 million, and Oklahoma has about 4.5 million. So if anybody cared, that's where all the cattle are. And I believe if you want to order them, you just need to get a catalog. Yeah,
Okay.
I did that
Okay.
joke. I did it.
Yeah.
I did it, and it was bad. It was a bad joke. All right, let's go to bats. Because we all want to know how many bats are in the world, right? Representing about 20% of all mammal species, bat populations are believed to be in the tens to hundreds of billions. So that's pretty crazy, right? There's like a lot of bats out there.
Lots of bats. Yeah.
Yeah, and fruit bats and long-tongued bats. Long-tongued bats, God, I can't tell you how many times I got caught up with a long-tongued bat near a glory hole in Woody Creek, Alabama. Only part of that story
Was
is
it
true.
I thought it would have been Smut Eye, but
It could have been Smut Eye. Smut Eye and Woody Creek, they're really close. Pigs. We got over 1 billion pigs, so that's good. We all like our bacon. You like bacon? You a big bacon fan?
I like the taste of bacon, but I don't like the way I feel after eating too much of it.
That's like Burger King for me or any fast food. I like the taste of it, but I'm going to pay for it. And I don't like that. Sheep. We have about 1 billion sheep spread across the Earth's surface. Scotland has a lot of sheep. New Zealand has a lot of sheep. And then we get into dogs. How many dogs you think we have worldwide?
Oh, goodness. Dogs. Okay. A dog per person. Does this count like wild dogs? And this, we're not
That's what
including like
I
wolves,
was
are
I
we?
was going to say I'm not sure if it does or not. But just let's just say for that sake they are counting wild dogs, but I don't know. In America it's not really.
All right.
Maybe
I'm
in the
just gonna.
bigger cities are, we're not really known for a lot of wild dogs, right? And obviously we're not talking about like foxes or wolves or anything like that. We're just talking specifically about dogs, but
All right. I'm gonna shoot my shot here, and I'm gonna say 10 billion dogs.
All right, well, this says 900 million. So you were just a little bit off. Just a little bit off.
I was 10 times off. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And I'll
You
tell
know,
you,
I
when
was just thinking, like, how many people have like 10 dogs in their house? You know, or like people are like
well, I was just gonna
farmers or
say, when I was
somebody.
growing up, my mom had at least 100 million of these dogs. No, not 100 million. In my lifetime, between the amount of dogs that I've owned and that my mom owned when I was a kid, it's going to be over 100. So that's kind of pretty crazy
Yeah.
in itself. Goats. Oh, I thought that said ghosts. You want to know how many ghosts are in the world? No, we'll go to there.
Ghosts?
Goats. Yeah, ghosts. No,
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know.
goats.
We don't
Yeah,
know.
so
Goats.
what are goats? I'm gonna say less than dogs, but I could be wrong because there's like giant, herds
No,
of
you're on the
goats
right
probably
path.
somewhere. Okay, all right. I'll take that. So where were we with dogs? 900 million?
900 million.
900 million. So with goats, I'm gonna say 100 million.
It's actually not much less than dogs. It's 850 million.
Oh,
So we've
wow.
got
Okay,
quite
just
a
a little bit
few
less. Okay.
goats. Plenty of goat cheese to go around if you're a big feta salad. Like if you like that Greek salad with feta cheese. I hate feta cheese, but just going to put that out there. How about cats? Now, I don't think they're
Cats.
going
I'm
to
gonna say
be
more.
counting. They're not going to be, well, they're not going to be counting. I don't think they're counting wild in this. I don't think they were with dogs either.
Lions, tigers.
Right. Because that would be a lot. There's a lot of different cat species out there, felines.
I have no idea what to say now because I'm so thrown off with the dogs and the goats. So I'm just gonna say the same, a little bit higher. I'm gonna go a little higher. We'll see, but I'm gonna say 1 billion cats.
Apparently, there are more dogs than cats. This says 600 million worldwide.
Okay,
And this is
I'm sensing
from,
a trend here of every time you ask me, it goes down.
it
So
does go
if
down
you
a
ask
little
me
bit.
again, I'm gonna guess. Okay,
All right. How about as we say in North and South America, opossums, even though we just usually say possum, but technically it is an opossum. So how many opossums?
all right, 400, no, 380 million.
160 million. And a few of them
Okay,
come to my backyard and they're always flirting with Pearl and an Earl squirrel.
Earl squirrel. Now you say there is the opossum. There is the possum.
I think in
There is
other plates of well, I think it's the same. Obviously, it's the same animal. I just think that we are one of, don't quote me on this. I don't know for sure, but I feel like
now.
that I read
I'm gonna
somewhere.
challenge you.
Well, okay. Well, I feel like I
Well, I
did
want
read
to.
somewhere that we are one of, if not the only country, one of the few countries that actually calls them an opossum. I think a lot of people just call them a possum, but I don't
Well,
know
I
for
think
sure.
because I remember just recently having a conversation about this, and there was um a difference, I believe. Like it
Was
wasn't just
there?
the same animal. Yeah.
An
The main
opossum
difference is
is
that the
just a really
opossums.
horny possum that constantly has
Yeah,
O's.
because of the O face. I
Yeah, the
get
O
it.
face.
Yeah, that's right. The big O. Here's what I'm seeing. The main difference is that opossums are native to the Americas, while possums are native to Australia, New Zealand, and China. Additionally, opossums have bare prehensile tails, while possums have furry tails. So it goes on and talks about the differences between them, but there actually is a difference between the possum and the opossum. And I thought the same thing, like just as a gut reaction, I was like, it's the same thing, but we just call them different. But
Right, right.
yeah, I learned that it was like a month ago I had this conversation about it, and I was on the wrong side of it.
Wow. So you were really getting into some possum talk. That should have been like the name of
I
our
sure was.
podcast, Possum Talk with Matt and Brandon.
Yeah, that would
All
have been
right.
good.
Yeah. Okay. So how about horses? Now, when we say horses, donkeys, and mules are all going to be different. So if you want to give me numbers on all of them, go for it. But if you just want to give me numbers on horses, go for it.
100 million horses.
58 million horses, but about 40 million donkeys and about 10 million mules. So altogether, a
Oh,
little
okay.
over 100
Close.
million.
Yeah.
And then do we
I
have
guess they've
anything
really
else?
lost their utility. Like we don't really milk horses. We don't really riding
We
horses
don't?
is a hobby now. It's not well,
You told me it was okay to
by we
milk
I just
horses. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Yeah. I'm getting something
I
from
guess
them, but I don't think it's milk.
I got I got to stop saying we from now on.
Yeah. Yeah.
too
Yeah,
much
yeah,
time in
because you
France.
don't know what I'm
Okay,
doing,
go
man.
on.
All right. No, so I just wanted to kind of put this in order. Insects have 10 quintillion. Fish are second with 3.5 trillion. Birds are third with 50 billion. Humans are fourth with over 8 billion. Cattle are fifth at 1.5 billion. Bats, they put bats at six, but I guess they don't really know because it says 10 to 100 billion, which seems like it should have been higher than sixth on this list. Pigs, 1 billion. Sheep, 1 billion. Dogs, 900 million. Goats, 850 million. Domesticated rabbits, I don't even know if we talked about rabbits, but domesticated rabbits is 709 million. So that's just domesticated. There's a lot of wild rabbits too. 600 million cats, 160 million opossums, 58 million horses. Oh, and then 45 million white-tailed deer. People are interested in that. So very interesting. So those are just kind of some animal statistics. In a moment, we are going to talk about some fictional places, some fictional populations. But first, I just want to give you a list of all the places that we now know Doofer has gone, our producer. And these are all real places. All right. So Doofer has gone to Three-Way, Arizona, Slick Poo, Idaho, McNutt, Big Bottom, Washington, Spread Eagle, Wisconsin. Good place to just stretch out. And now I have populations for the rest. Ding Dong, Texas. Oh, I don't know if you visited Ding Dong when you were there, but that's about 25 people. So I don't know. Might have been a cool place to live. Wanker's Corner, Oregon. Oh, man, did I have a good time there. 1,577 people there. Balltown, Iowa. Great place to play with some balls. 79 people. Intercourse, Pennsylvania. 1,494 people. Blue Ball Village, Maryland. I actually don't have a population for Blue Ball Village. Apparently, everybody got the fuck out of there because they were tired of the blue balls. Hamtown, New Jersey, 6,329 people. Butternuts, New York, 1,786 people. Sweet Lips, Tennessee, 80 people. That used to be the nickname for my girlfriend. Sweet Lips, Tennessee. And then Hooker, Oklahoma, which is where Doofer currently is, has 1,802 people. Gosh, I hope Doofer knows what he's doing because he is just racking up a bill right now that we're going to have to take care of, and that's not cool.
He's sort of like our modern day Carmen Sandiego. You know
He
what I mean?
is. He is. It's where in the world is producer Doofer? You know, we should make a game for that, but it might get copyrighted. I don't know. So I want to talk a little bit about, first of all, I just want to go over a couple of populations. And when you get into populations of fictional places, it can be a little bit difficult. There's going to be some different numbers out there. Things aren't very consistent. I want to go with Marvel. Wakanda in the Marvel universe has 6 million people. Wakanda, South Dakota, which is a real place, has 350 people. And Wachovia, which was, I think, a premiere, like it was heavily in what, Age of Ultron, right? When they were trying to save Wachovia, and he was bringing the whole place up into the air so he could slam it down for some reason. That has 4 million people. In the DC Comics, Gotham, I'm reading different numbers, but for the most part, a lot of people agree that Gotham only has 278,000 people, which I say only because when I looked up Metropolis, where Superman lives, there's 11 million people. So that's quite big. Some other cool fictional places, South Park, which is a real place in Colorado, but for this sake, we're talking about South Park, as in the show South Park, has 4,388 people. And then I have some numbers, hold on, for Quahog, Rhode Island, which has kind of been fluctuating. In one episode, it was mentioned there was only 800 people in Quahog, and then another episode there was 30,000 people in Quahog. And then there is Springfield, as far as the Simpsons, where we don't really know where it is. The population of Springfield in season 13 was 50,720 people, but in season 31, the population was 32,000 people. So there's been some type of Springfield exodus with Springfield. By the way, just an interesting fact about Springfield. their area code in Springfield is 939 and 636. And in real life, the area code of 939 is in St. Louis, Missouri, and 636 is Puerto Rico. So they're trying to throw us off their tail a little bit.
Yeah.
So just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to say, because I found this out, this really has nothing to do with population. Well, it kind of does. The area of West Springfield is supposedly 2,088,723 kilometers squared and is 3 times the size of Texas, which puts it at the size of Greenland.
Okay, that's
Practical doesn't really seem right. Also, I just want to say that I don't know what season we are on of The Simpsons. I know we're getting close to 40, but Joe Quimby has been the mayor the whole time. And I just think maybe it might be time for them to, I don't know, get a different mayor.
yeah. There might be a little insider, speaking of dictate.
Right. Some stuff going on.
There's a lot of Springfields as well. Like, it's just a sidebar. Like, it seems like every state has its own Springfield. If you ever,
Yeah, there's
look at the
definitely
map.
a lot. There, one of the states has a capital of Springfield. Do you know what state that is?
Boy, Springfield, Alabama. All
It's
right, tell me what it
actually
is.
Springfield, Illinois.
Springfield, Illinois. There
Springfield
it
is
is,
capital of Illinois. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So here's the fun part that I kind of wanted to get into. I wanted to talk about some populations of 2 of probably the most famous fantastical types of shows/movies, the Game of Thrones universe and the Lord of the Rings universe. All right. So we're going to go a little over the Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings is kind of tough because Tolkien never really bothered to come up with the populations of places. He did state somewhere where there's an estimate of 34 million people that represent the maximum population of Middle Earth. But what we really have here is population of, I'm sorry, actually he said that was what they could sustain for population, but they actually said that there was only about 6.7 million people in Middle Earth. 6 million of them alone, or a little over 6 million, are the humans. 200,000 hobbits is what the estimate is, 284,000 elves, and 121,000 dwarves. If you get into orcs, then it raises the population up to about 7.6 million, as the estimated size of the population of orcs was 810,000 orcs. Anything to say about the Lord of the Rings? Were you a fan of the Lord of the Rings, the hobbits? Things like that?
Yeah, I like Lord of the Rings. I
Okay.
thought they were great
But not,
movies.
but you told me earlier before we started this podcast that you also liked Lord of the Cock Rings, and that was a good show.
Yeah, that
too.
was in confidence, so I'm assuming we'll probably cut that part
Oh,
out.
I'm sorry.
But
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, anyways, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, so the universe I think is cool. It was at a point like, it was really immersive. The movies were longer, especially for the time that it came out. It felt like they were kind of bucking the trend of like having shorter, tighter movies, and Lord of the Rings movies were just like marathons to get through. But if you enjoyed them, then you really liked the fact that there was lots of extra content. Yeah, and like I said, I think the universe is really cool. I wasn't one of those people who got like into the books or anything like that. So my first introduction of that into that world was when the first movie came out.
I would probably listen to the book on tape or like an audio book or something. Not on Fartify, but probably Spotify or maybe Amazon Music or anything else out there that wants to, represent us as a sponsor if you'd like. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the Lord of the Rings. I'm probably a bigger fan of Game of Thrones, but maybe that's just because I don't know. There's something to say about when you can hear from the author. And obviously Tolkien's been gone for a long time. I think maybe, I don't know, since the 60s or something like that. And then, but with George R.R. Martin being here, and it's kind of one of those guys that after I watched Game of Thrones, I really wanted to kind of get more of his ideas and just kind of like pick his brain a little bit. Obviously, I couldn't, but I'm just saying that I did just like watching like the question and answer type things that he would answer for questions. And it's always funny with me because he'd always be like, there would be people that would be like, why is there he said that a lot of people would come up and kind of give him shit about the sex and the nudity that was involved in his work. And he said, you know what nobody ever asked me about was the violence. Nobody ever once complained about the violence. Because there's some, I mean, it's pretty violent too. But it just kind of tells you how our society is. We get that a lot in society where sex is kind of like, oh God, not as much as a faux pas as it used to be, but and then but people really don't really talk about the violence that much, and it's just kind of interesting. Before we get into some Game of Thrones numbers, is there one that you like better than the other? Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings or
Well, I think that retrospectively, it would be Lord of the Rings. But while they were happening, I would have said Game of Thrones. And that's
yeah,
because
that is
I know
true.
you're going to ask. Yeah, and it's because Game of Thrones ended so unfortunately
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
I have to
we've got I
say
think we're going to
Lord of the Rings
dedicate
now.
an episode definitely to Game of Thrones, and we'll get into those discussions about because I think I there's a lot of people who really hate the last season, maybe the last couple of seasons, or maybe just from the seasons where I think they when Jon Snow dies, sorry, spoiler alert for everybody, at season 5, I think that's when the books ended. And so anything beyond that was kind of I'm sure they were getting some input from Martin, but
Yeah.
but yeah, it kind of went off the
Uh,
rails a little bit.
yeah, and I understand that. I mean, like, well, I guess just to touch on it a little bit more. But now I feel like I have to say this. Season 8, Game of Thrones. So I hear a lot of people talk about the quality. Some people say the quality started dropping off after the point when the book stopped. Some people say it started dropping off at the beginning of season 7 and 8. Some people just say season 8, I'm one of those people where I can deal with a certain amount of drop off. So like if I really tighten it up, it's really probably like second half of season 8 that I think as a whole season 8 could have been done way differently. I think it should have been 2, maybe 3 seasons.
Right.
But the second half of season 8 especially was just it was so jarring to me, and if just nothing if I had a time machine and just could change even just the second half, I think the legacy of Game of Thrones as a whole would be completely different if we could just end it a little differently. It's really unfortunate. One
Well,
of the most unfortunate
Daenerys,
pieces of television.
yeah, Daenerys is just her descent, or however you want to say, into madness was kind of fast. Obviously, there were
Yeah.
reasons behind it. We get those, but the whole scene, yeah, and I guess we are diving into it a little bit, but the whole scene where she's on her dragon and they've rung the bell at King's Landing to say that they're giving up, and then she kind of just stews on that for a minute and then just goes fucking crazy, right? And that I think was really shocking to people. But yeah, but you're right. I think that they made that whole descent of hers like really fast. It's not like you could really see that before that season. So everything was kind of fast. And then we all know we don't agree with like who they made king in the end, and it was all kind of fucking weird.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the only thing faster than her descent was Bran's ascent at the
Yeah.
very end as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the whole thing
The
was a mess.
all-knowing
I mean, you could
Bran, and it's yeah.
I feel like I could have rewritten just even the last episode and still made it be a better show.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that think that, maybe I'm just exhibiting hubris, but it could have been I think it's one of the worst. Like, I don't know how you could have done much worse than how it was,
Yeah, I
but we'll
think
talk
that
about it.
AI came out just a couple years too late, right? Like if only
Yeah,
they would
that's
have had some
unfortunate. Yeah.
AI. I mean,
ChatGPT,
ChatGPT could
Claude.
have, yeah, made a great ending for that.
Yeah.
Let's
Gemini.
let's take a look at some, and these are just going to be some numbers in Westeros. Okay, so we're going to look at some numbers of the armies. So in the Crown Lands, we have 15,000 people, 15,000 people strong as their army, 35 to 40,000 in the north, 35 to 40,000 in the Riverlands, 35 to 40,000 in the Vale of Arryn, 50 to 55,000 for the Westerlands, 15,000 for the Iron Islands, 20 to 25,000 for the Stormlands, 25 to 30,000 for Dorne, and 120,000 for the Reach. So that's about 380,000 total troops in that time frame as far as ready for battle and things like that. So then we're going to get into the populations in a minute, but are there any places in Westeros that, I mean, I think most people know by now that it's loosely, like the shape of it is loosely based off Ireland. And then but are there any places that you remember from the show where, like, where would you have want to be in that? Would you want to be like in King's Landing with all those people? Or would you want to be in the north or maybe the Iron Islands? Or is there any?
I think that King's Landing would have been cool. I don't want to be there when for a dragon to be breathing on the top of my head, but I
Right.
think that it seems like there would have been lots of economic opportunity there, lots of interesting, lots of services. We don't have to go into what kinds are provided, but there's lots of services throughout King's Landing, lots of interesting things you can do. Yeah, just lots of opportunities and the political intrigue and stuff like that. And the city as a whole seemed like it was doing pretty well. I think I don't want to get the name wrong, but what is it? Is it Dorne that I'm thinking of? What is the place where it's like really nice weather? It's like I don't know, maybe it's a little bit more sandy, but it's like tropical.
I think, I don't know about tropical, but I mean, are you talking about the place in the show where like they send Cersei and Jamie send their daughter to, and
I
then
think
she
so, yeah.
ends up getting engaged to like I think one of the king's sons or grandkids or something. I think that
Yeah.
is Dorne. I believe that's where well, who's become the big star now. Gosh, why can't I think of his name? But the guy who had to face the not the Hound. Who was the Hound's brother's name? I always forget his name.
The
But he had
mountain.
to, yeah, the Mountain. He had to face him in it was like the battle for Tyrion during the trial, and then he died. And that guy became a big star. And why can't I think of his name right now?
Oh, I know yeah. You're talking about
Pedro.
he just recently
Pedro
Pedro Pascal,
Pascal.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, and he's been in like everything lately.
Yeah, he is.
But so let's go over the populations, or these are estimated populations. They have 1.5 million for the Crownlands, 4 million in the north, 4 million for the Riverlands, 5.5 million for the Westerlands, 1.5 million for the Iron Islands, 2.5 million for the Stormlands, 3 million for Dorne, and 12 million for the thing I wanted to talk about. It is really hard to get fictional population statistics just because I said that if it's been mentioned in the works, then it's obviously a little bit easier. But you saw in like
Hmm.
The Simpsons and Family Guy and things like that where they'll kind of change that number over time. In The Simpsons, I mean, they must have
I'd
like
imagine,
a book of
yeah,
fucking history.
I'm imagining it's like during an episode opening, they like show an image of like the Welcome to Springfield sign or something, and it'll have like
Right.
a population,
Yeah.
and so like that's how people are gathering this data for like
Right.
cartoons and
Like
different
how
things like
much
that.
or like what the price tag was when they swiped Maggie at the at the register in the beginning, and people like that was
Yeah,
a big thing where like that was back in the day when it was hard to like like you couldn't just pause the VCR and it would still be kind of like wavy and it wouldn't look right. Now you could like fucking stop that shit and know it immediately, but it was hard back in
frame
the
by
day,
frame.
people. Yeah, yeah. I just want to go over some general statistics here. Not general, but like some interesting statistics. According to the 2010 data from the U.S. Census Bureau, over 36 million people of Irish descent live in the United States, which, by the way, is 6 times more than the entire population of Ireland. Ireland, by the way, is just now getting back to its population numbers that they had before the Great Famine in the mid 1800s. So it's taken nearly 175 years just to get those numbers back. Obviously, not all from death. That's when a lot of people started migrating to the U.S. from Ireland. Here's interesting stat for you. Louise and Martine Fakans, I don't know, Amsterdam's oldest sex workers, retired in 2016 after serving approximately 355,000 men, which is more than Iceland's population at the time. So congratulations to Louise and Martine. Sad to see you go, but I guess I'll have to go and see somebody else next time. I don't know. Yeah. In 1847, Toronto, with a population of 20,000 people, they only had 20,000 people they welcomed 38,560 Irish famine victims. So that's insane to me. You would never see that today, where people would welcome a number of refugees or whatever more than the population that they have. Well, maybe you would, maybe in
Yeah.
like a small town, but not in like a big city or something like that.
Yeah.
Here's one. After first contact, 90% of the native population of the Americas perished, which is sad, marking the largest mass death in history. So there might be people that say Holocaust. There might be people that say the plague or the Spanish flu. There might be people that say all these things, but it's this. And that was 10% of the global population dying in just a few years. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is fun. Humans nearly faced extinction at least 3 times, with the global population possibly dwindling to as low as 600. One such bottleneck occurred around 70,000 years ago, likely due to the Toba supervolcano eruption, which drastically reduced genetic diversity in modern humans. During the Holocaust, 99% of Jewish children in Poland perished. 99%? Jeez. Leaving only 5,000 survivors from a pre-war population of 1 million. Man. Paris has over 44,000 restaurants, which equates to 48 residents per restaurant. They have a 2.14 million people or population. This one I thought was pretty interesting. Over 108 billion people have lived on Earth. And today's population of about 8 billion only represents about 7% of all humans who have ever existed. Just some interesting population stats to kind of let people know about. I think with that, we might have time, if you want to do one wheel of controversy.
Spin it up.
The
Let's see what we get.
wheel of controversy. That's all I have. I don't have a media play for that. So let's get to it. And of course, I can't share it because for some reason it's on Edge and it won't let me share it. I don't know why. Gosh, I hate Edge. I shouldn't say that. Sorry, Microsoft. I love Edge. It's wonderful. Copilot is my favorite thing in the world. No, it's not. Not really. All right. You use Copilot at all?
Yeah, I do for well, no, I don't. I used to use Copilot, but they had the version of Copilot that I would use was for specifically programming, and the one they have like on Windows, I don't use that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. There's so many AI things out now too that you just don't
Yeah.
even know. And Canva actually had a huge update here recently with some cool new features. So, all right, here is our wheel of controversy.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we are going to spin it. Last time we talked about, did we talk about religion in public schools? Is that just where it's starting off at? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't.
I don't
remember
think
if
we talked about
it.
that. All right, let's spin it up. Where's it going to land? Big money, big money, big money. No whammies. Oh, green energy. All right. Man, there's a lot of hot topics in here,
Oh,
and I
man.
feel like we don't ever really land on
We're
any of
missing
the
the
hot
spicy
topics.
ones.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to be well. Actually, we might have some differences in our takes on green energy. But you want me to go first?
If you would like.
Green energy. So, what is green energy? First off, it encompasses, as far as my understanding, the industries around power generation, power and fuel. I guess I'm not sure how you'd say that, but I'll just
Yeah.
say power, where they have maybe either zero or a very low kind of like carbon emission or environmental impact. So I would imagine this would include probably solar. I think wind, we could debate I know there's I'll just say solar, wind, hydro, probably some sort of I don't know, thermonuclear or something like that. Are you looking at a list right now? Because I heard you typing.
I'm not looking at a list. I just wanted to say I could look at a list if you'd like. That green energy is defined by energy that can be produced using a method and from a source that causes no harm to the natural environment. And so there's going to be some things where people, I think what really it should be is renewable energy. I think that should be what we'll be talking about, because green energy, there's not much green energy that really exists if they're talking about no impact on the environment, right? Because even renewable sources do have impacts in one way or another. They just don't have as much of an impact as like fossil fuels and things like that. So as far as we can kind of look in, let me see if I've got some ideas of
Yeah.
what green energy are, or
Yeah, and I pulled up a list of some stuff, and I don't know why I said thermonuclear, but I think I was probably thinking of geothermal.
geothermal, yeah, hydropower,
Yeah,
wind, solar, yeah.
yeah. So I'm going to take this automatically in the most divisive direction that I can,
Okay.
and it's that I love I love green energy and renewable energy sources. I don't know how I feel about um the subsidization of green energy. I think that some is good, but but I think that in as long as we have our incentives in the right place in other ways, I think that we can still move towards a green energy future. I am so the hottest part of the take that I have is that I think that I'm an advocate for all energy sources at 100%. Like, I think that we should just extract all the energy to advance technology as fast as we possibly can, to fling ourselves as far into the future as we can, to solve all of the problems that we're going to deal with in an adaptive way, in like a human evolutionary adaptive way, using technology and AI. Because I'm not sure that putting the brakes on energy and capping our technological advancement possibly is a side effect. It's not a given. I don't see us just kind of maintaining where we're at or trying to go backwards from where we're at, especially when we're talking about like international competition with other countries
Yeah.
that don't have the same disposition as we do in here in the US when it comes to green energy and technology advancement and things like that. So I've thought about it, and I've heard different takes on the subject, but I really just think like let's just open up all the energy we can and advance as fast as we can, and just fling ourselves as far into the future as we can, because I think technologically we can find solutions to these tough problems, even if right at this point in time we're still not sure what we're going to do. I know climate change, global warming is an issue, and I know it causes disastrous weather effects and ocean levels rising, and on all these sorts of things. And I just got to believe that technology, and maybe I'm saying this as a technologist, but I think technology is one of the fastest ways out of this and one of the best ways for us to adapt to it. So that's my hot take.
Yeah. First of all, I just wanted to say I don't know if you heard anything about Hurricane Melissa, which was heading toward Jamaica last time I knew. They recorded wind speeds at the highest that they've ever recorded them in a hurricane. So that's pretty scary. Green energy, let's say this out. Renewable energy is cheaper. It's cheaper for the consumer. It's cheaper to produce. So that's how I feel with that. I have a real big problem with coal, mainly just because I feel like coal is just so dirty, and the way you have to extract it. I mean, the amount of people that got black lung back in the day just from getting coal out of the coal mines and things like that. The problem is there's a couple of problems with renewable energy. Is that we tend to do this as a country where we go one way for so long, where with oil, it's been oil and oil and gas and oil and gas and all this stuff. And now, like, there are states like California that are trying to push this green energy or this renewable energy, and trying to say, okay, you got to have an electric car by whatever year. And unfortunately, that's just we don't work that way as a country. And the worst thing you can say to residents of this country is to force them to do things. We learned that when they were trying to mandate vaccines for COVID, and now they're trying to mandate, like, say, okay, you need to have an EV by this time, or we need to get to this point by this time. And it's tough because we should have done this a long time ago. We should have started this a long time ago. It's not like we didn't know about the effects. I mean, we knew about the effects over 100 years ago. We knew what the effects would be on certain things. When the Industrial Revolution started in the 1800s, people started realizing what it was going to do on the impact of the world, and we just kept doing it. We're human beings. I think that's just how we operate. So I do agree with you. I think big oil, the lobbyists and things like that, it's going to be hard to get anything around them. When you have such a big control of the energy market and things like that, and then you've got deals with the Middle East and all of that stuff going on, it's really hard to get there. But I'm with you. I think that technology should really help us with this. I'm all for renewable resources. Just don't force people into them. Eventually it'll be something, you know. I always think about when we first got cars. Like, you know how many people out there were like how many people like owned like a horse farm and they're like, "Man, fuck these cars. I got horses, man. What are you talking about these cars for?" So I'm sure there was a big push against that. You know, we talked before about the hemp industry and them making marijuana and hemp illegal back in like the 20s and 30s. And that was mainly because of the lumber companies. They were afraid of how great hemp worked in certain ways and how flexible it was and how strong it was. So big money gets into these things and politics gets into these things, and it really does suck. But I'm all about renewable energy sources. And I think down the line, I think more people will be accepting. Everything takes time, and people do accept things. And I think that over time, people will start to accept it. Do we have that much time left? I don't know. Hopefully. I always hear different things about where we're at. I'm more worried about the ice caps melting, and that really has not much to do with like more coastline. Like I'm not like, oh, there's going to be, the oceans are going to rise, so the coast is going to get, be a little closer or whatever. It's more about what's underneath that ice, that we're unmasking, old radiation and old SARS viruses and old things that we just don't know, smallpox. We're vaccinated for that for the most part. But then there's this huge thing, with vaccinations right now too, that's kind of become a forefront of things. So I don't know. That's kind of getting into something else, but I'm all about renewable energy sources and I like them. And I think that, hell, I mean, if we all just like farted in one place, we could probably make energy out of that, right? Remember when they did a big study on cow farts, on like how much methane was coming out and if it was really, contributing to like the global warming and things like that. And it was just kind of funny
Yeah.
where it's like, well, I don't know. I really like beef. So you can't just slaughter all the cows because they're farting too much. But it is interesting. But yeah, that's my take on it. And I hope that we get to a place where we have more renewable resources and hopefully
Yeah.
we get
I
there good.
agree. A renewable future makes sense. And I mean, in a probably in a perfectly functioning, in a capitalist profit motivated society running in the best way that it can, I think that we just hit that tipping point where it just makes sense, where everybody is going towards renewables, because just for the sake of it being so cheap for what you get in return. And I know that things like solar are really approaching that point or have already passed it. But I think that manufacturing needs to continue and get built out. I can see a future where just everything, I think in the future, like everything is going to be solar powered as well. And when I say solar powered, I mean like everything's just going to be covered in a layer of paint, like, or something that can absorb solar rays and somehow transform that into power. It just seems like it would make sense for us to like sort of coat everything with this. And then probably also some sort of version of nuclear, or I don't know what, like fusion nuclear energy.
Right.
I know I said three different words there that I don't exactly know the distinctions between them, and I should, but I know there's a lot of advancement in these directions. And so like I feel like it's like micro reactors where like we're talking about, like it makes sense, especially somewhere like on the moon. Like if you have a moon base, you could have like this nuclear reactor where the environmental impact of a meltdown is not, it's nothing compared to what everybody's scared of here,
Right. Right.
on Earth. So, but I agree. I hope the future is more renewable, and I think we will get there. But the question is, will we get there soon enough? I don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm really hyped on geothermal. I just don't know how far we're into that. And I know that all of these things are going to take money. And there's just a lot of people out there that don't want to spend the money on those kind of things. And in this country, the state that we are in right now, it's just kind of a moot thing because people don't really, they're so worried about where money's going to different things that I don't think we can even talk about it. So we have to get at that level to where more people are understanding and realize that it is the better way to go for a better future, whether you have kids or not. I mean, I'm sure if you have kids, then definitely worry about it. I mean, that it seems to be more of a worry kind of thing. But I don't know. But it was a good podcast today. It was wonderful. I want to thank everybody for listening. And if you have been following where producer Doofer is, that's wonderful. Pinpoint those places on a map. He is currently in Hooker, Oklahoma, spending all of our, I believe he usually buys hookers with old pocket change, like those arcade tickets. Apparently that's the only place that they take them. So good for him. But man, we really had to play a lot of games to get those.
From the skee ball machines.
Yeah, it was a ski. Yeah, we did a lot of skee
Yeah.
ball back in the day.
Yeah.
And it was funny. It was fun stuff. It was fun times. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening to the pod. We'll see you next time, and I hope that you dive into your own population statistics. And if you want to send us a letter or an email about how many people live in your house and where your food is at and what windows and doors are left unlocked, go ahead and do that. And we will send Doofer over, and he will raid your kitchen. I am Matin Rouge, and he is Bran Antonio, and we are Socially Awkwards.